So we met back in December when the film was about to come out, and I said to you then that I thought you were probably on the verge of superstardom. Has your life changed now that you've been in a $1 billion grossing movie?
No. Life hasn't changed. I'm very excited that the film has had a wide reach, and that it's been received so well in so many different varied territories and cultures. But it's not really a surprise to me because the book was translated into many languages and was very appealing. So, but that's the most exciting part of this journey, and knowing that we're now kind of gearing up for our 10-week reshoot of more footage so that movies 2 and 3 can have the same impact.
Yeah. Do you get recognised?
No, I don't. I don't go out.
Yes, you look a little different in real life, but when do you have to start working on the beard?
It takes about 8 weeks to grow, so I've got a date in the diary whereby I'm going to stop shaving, which I'm really looking forward to.
So I have a question for you about Thorin and his mindset as a character, because we talked last time a little bit about his sort of status, and you talked about how you were keen to protect his status on set, around the set.
Yeah.
But he's a character who's obviously been born as a future king, you know, his grandfather's a great king, and then all of that is taken from him in a very sort of abrupt, violent manner. And I just wondered, how did he retain his sense of dignity and sense of worth through seeing his grandfather beheaded, his father go mad, you know, all of that? How do you think he kept that sense of status? Did he?
Well, they were thrown into exile, and you know, part of, you know, there's a line where I think his father says, you know, will you go back to the anvil? And he says, well, yes, because the work will keep our arms strong until we can wield heavier weapons again. So he's always lived with that idea in mind, that they will return to their glory, but they have to go through this process of rebuilding a kingdom, which is what he talks to Balin about in Bag End of the first movie. Of you know, he's done well by his people. He's found them safety, and he's rebuilt for them. So you know, although they don't have Erebor, they don't have those great riches, he still managed to retain a kind of status as a leader. His father has disappeared 100 years to the day before they arrive in Bag End. So there is this mystery of this draw towards the mountain, then this danger that it incurs, and of course the possibility of the dragon sickness, which keeps him from you know, taking on the same quest. So all of those things trouble him and give him his status.
And clearly the other dwarfs certainly around him still regard him with a great deal of respect. You know, we have that wonderful speech from Balin where he talks about having seen the potential for a king in Thorin. So he's always aware of that in himself.
Well, also, I think, you know, in those extreme circumstances where you are thrown into exile, I think that it's important that, I think there is a natural building of a simulated hierarchy to maintain the normality of a life, you know, and creating a new society, which is what they had to do. It would have been essential to have the leaders and the generals and to create a structure in their world. So I think they've done that. And, you know, it was one of the things that I really wanted to do when creating Thorin, I wanted him to earn his status rather than command it.
Yeah, yeah. When we talked before, you said you were waiting to see what The Hobbit would bring out in terms of potential next projects. Yeah. Do you have anything you can share with us?
I don't. I mean, I've just wrapped on actually last year I wrapped on a film called Black Sky. I've been back and done some reshoots for that, but
I know people are eager to see that.
Yeah, that's a different kind of movie altogether. But yeah, no, this year is pretty open. I mean, I'm just looking forward to going back and shooting more.